Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today on Sue's Healthy Minutes, I have the pleasure of sharing with you yet another It's the Bread story. I certainly never get tired of hearing them and then sharing them with you. My guest today is Edna Summers. Edna actually reached out to us at Bread Beckers saying that she wanted to be a guest on my podcast. I reached back out to Edna, and what little she told me in our short conversation, I knew was worth sharing with you today on Sue's Healthy Minutes. Hers is definitely a unique story, one that I had never heard before. So, Edna, welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. It's a pleasure to have you on today. Would you start by telling us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then a little background about the health issues you were experiencing?
Sure. I'm from Denison, Texas. That's up by the Red River, which is a hop, skip, and a jump from Oklahoma.
Ah.
So we've been here in this place 7 years, and I was experiencing some GI problems, some GERD, some night hives, in that about 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I would wake up just covered in huge hives, some of them as big as my hand. And I would go to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, I don't know what they look like. And I said, well, I can't come at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, right.
He said, thank you. So my daughter said, Mom, use your phone and take a picture at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, duh.
Yeah, these young kids are so brilliant, aren't they?
They are. So I took a picture, and I took it into my doctor, and he said, oh, my. I said, yeah, oh, my. Try living it.
Yeah, and they were only happening at night?
Only at night, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I would wake up just covered in them and itching to beyond measure.
Oh, my goodness.
I have never had anything like that, and I've been covered in poison ivy and poison sumac and all that. So, anyway, this was much, much worse because of how big they were. So, the doctor put me on 2 or 3 different things trying to get answers, and nothing worked. And then one day I went in and I said, we got to do something, because I was just worn out, not sleeping. And he said, okay, let's try Allegra. So he put me on Allegra. Well, poof, it stopped it. But
wow.
I didn't want to stay on medicine all my life. So I told him, I said, I don't want to be on this medicine the rest of my life. And he said, well, if you don't want the hives, you have no choice. And I said, I think I do. And he said, okay, have at it. I went home and I started researching night hives. I started researching what in the world can be done. And in the process, I ran across Sue Becker's videos, and I watched probably 8 or 10 of them, and finally the thought hit me, what have I got to lose? Let's try the whole wheat and see if this can be helped. Thinking that God has an answer. He provided. He created us, and He created us and made us wonderfully and fearfully made. So
yes,
there's got to be a reason. There's something that I'm not getting in my system that's doing this.
Yeah.
So I told my husband, and showed him, made him sit and watch one of your videos, and he said, well, we don't have anything to lose. Where do we get it? I said, I don't know. I haven't got that far yet.
I love it. Yeah.
So I started searching mills, and I came down to 2 meals. One was a mock meal. The other was a wonder meal. I was trying to decide between the two. And he said, well, when we buy bread, we buy stone ground. So why don't we just get the stone ground meal? I said, okay. So we found a person that wanted to sell their meal of all crazy ideas. But anyway, they wanted to sell their meal. They'd used it 5 times. And she said they just weren't happy with the grind of the wheat. Well, I ordered the meal, got it, turned it on, put the wheat in it, and it was really coarse. And I thought, well, you got to adjust it. So I adjusted it, got flour. We started before that we had started hunting for where to get wheat, because if we ordered it from Bread Becker's, that was going to eat us up in shipping.
Yes. That's why we have the co-ops. Yep, it gets you bad. Yeah.
So I decided to start looking around. One of our local grocery stores sold hard red wheat and emmer wheat. Okay, so I go down and I get the hard red and I get the emmer because I don't have a clue what's different.
I love it.
So I bring them home and I mill some of the hard red and I mill some of the emmer and I put the two together. I didn't know what I was doing.
I love it, though. You didn't. I just love it. Jump in there with both feet.
I did. So I made the first loaf according to your recipe. And believe it or not, it turned out.
I know. That's great.
I made bread before with dead flour. And all it did was make us fat. So we quit doing that years ago. And I'm not a bread eater, have never been a bread eater. But at this point, I had to try something. So I ate the first 2 slices of bread, and hey, that's pretty doggone good.
If I do say so myself.
Exactly. So I ate the whole loaf, and that took me about almost a week. And in the second, I made the second loaf, and my husband said, "You're eating that awfully well. Let me try some." And I said, "Well, I wasn't stopping you on the first loaf."
That's funny.
Ate some, and he said, "Man, that's good stuff." So we both were eating it, and I ate it for 3 weeks, and I got brave. Decided, okay, I'm not going to take the Allegra tonight and see what happens. So I didn't take the Allegra. Well, I didn't wake up in the middle of the night. So I thought, well, it's built up in my system.
Yeah, that's a logical thought. Yep.
I thought, well, I'm going to try it one more night, see what happens. So the next night, nothing happened. I thought, whoa, I think I'm on to something here. So I kept eating the bread, not had another night of hives. And as a side effect, I wasn't gaining any weight.
Well, that's a good side effect.
That's what I thought. I said, I can deal with this. And then I decided, well, what if I don't eat the bread? Is that going to make the hives come back? So I forgot to eat bread one day because, like I said, I'm not a bread eater.
Yeah.
So I forgot to eat the bread in the 2 nights, and I started feeling it at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was up eating bread.
Wow.
And it's actually stopped it in the process. I could feel it coming on, and it stopped eating that slice of bread at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that looks real cute, but hey.
You got to do what you got to do. Hey, and a nice piece of bread is not a bad pill to swallow, is it?
No, it's not. So, and normally if I ate something and laid down, I would have GERD problem and heartburn and the whole 9 yards. I laid down and went back to sleep and nothing.
Wow. So it's helped your reflux as well and your heartburn.
I have not had heartburn or reflux since I started the bread trail.
Wow. Now, you said it took about 3 weeks before you got the nerve to quit taking your Allegra. How long have you been making the bread now and eating it regularly?
I've been making bread now almost 3 years.
Okay.
So,
and no problem since, huh?
Not a problem. One, my husband has now, his bowels are as like clockwork, and so are mine. But that's just side effects that I can handle.
Those are the kind of side effects you want, aren't they?
You got it. So,
yeah.
And then I go back to my doctor. And I come in and he said, "So how's the Allegra doing?" I said, "Oh, no, I ain't been taking it."
Uh-oh.
He said, "How long have you not been taking it?" I said, "About 4 months." He said, "And you've not had any kind of side effects? Anything come back?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, I think we cured the problem." I said, "No, we didn't. God did."
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And he said, "What do you mean?" And I handed him a loaf of bread. And I said, "This has stopped it. Now you tell me what's in it." He said, "This is homemade bread. What did you put in it?" And I said, "Well, I ground my wheat." And he said, "That's what it is." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Everything that God put in wheat for us to eat is still in there. And there's some nutrition that they have taken out in flour that has healed you of this problem." He said, "But I wouldn't quit eating the bread."
I like this doctor.
We really like him. He's down to earth. He's a Christian man, and he believes in the power of prayer. But anyway, I gave him the loaf of bread, and then the next time I went in, I took another loaf of bread, and he said, "I want you to know that's the best bread I ever ate in my life."
Isn't that amazing? I love what God gives us.
Yeah. I said, "I've got the recipe." He said, "I just love the way you make it." So I handed him the loaf of bread, and he said, "I want to tell you something." He said, "My kids, and then they range in age of 2 to 12, I think." And he said, "They can tell the difference between your bread and store-bought bread." And I said, "And?" He said, "And they much prefer yours." He said, "They'll
I love it
when they see me coming in the door with it."
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's what that's what I love so much about the bread is it's healthy food. Everybody loves it. It's not a hard pill to swallow.
And you don't have to beg kids to eat it.
Exactly. That's what I loved about it because I started doing this when my kids were young and I did all kinds of things, green drinks and, supplements and stuff like that. But you can't get kids to do that. But that I didn't even have to beg them or ask them to eat the bread. They asked to eat the bread. They asked me to eat the bread. So
exactly.
Oh, that's amazing.
I told the doctor I had a spider bite and I had to go in an emergency situation. So I went in and I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't have time to make bread before I came." And he said, "You don't have to bring me bread every time you come in." I said, "But I want to." He said, "Thank you." So anyway, I think I could probably pay my doctor bill with my bread.
Maybe so. That might be a good exchange.
Yes.
So you've been doing this for 3 years now, and you've already mentioned several side effects. You mentioned that you had bowel issues. What type of bowel issues did you have, if you don't mind being so personal?
Oh, I don't mind at all. They just were sporadic, and you never knew.
Yeah.
Or what was going to come.
Yeah. Okay. And your husband as well. So y'all have seen complete resolution of that, right?
Complete. But the GERD is gone. I've not had any kind of heartburn at all. And the only thing we've changed is the bread.
I love it. That's what I hear everyone say. You said two things today that just about everyone I interview, they'll or even come across in just day-to-day life and 31 years in business. When they hear about the bread, a lot of times they go, "What have we got to lose?" One lady said, I like to cook and we have to eat. What have we got to lose? And
right.
Yeah. And then, of course, all we've changed is the bread, and we've seen these benefits. So, I'm going to have to you've inspired me to do some more research to see what it is in the bread that could cause could bring about such remarkable changes in these night hives. I did a little bit of research since talking with you yesterday, just to see what causes it and stuff. But basically, they don't know. They don't know really. But I've had some pretty remarkable testimonies. One young man in particular came all the way from, I think, Kansas or no, it was Missouri, to come to our store just to tell me that he was so despairing even of life because he had these stinging hives on his skin. And within just a couple of months of his, of making the bread and eating the bread, it all went away. And I mean, that's pretty significant that it was so painful. He didn't even want to live anymore.
Well, it's pretty miserable. I can side of that for sure. But my doctor told me, he said, the only thing that I know for sure that is in the wheat is the vitamin E. And I said, but I take vitamin E. He said, yeah, but what you're taking is not what God made.
Right. It's not the same. And that's what I was going to say. I could do a podcast every week on vitamin E on a different subject of all the things that it helps. It's just such an amazing nutrient, and it's there in the bread. That's just so amazing. Well, do you have anything else or any final words of encouragement that you would like to share with those listening today before we close out?
Well, all I know is that this stuff is amazing. I would pay money for this stuff, and I am, but not to the extent that it would cost if they had some kind of medication, which I absolutely despise medication.
Yeah.
It's needed sometimes, I get that, but I'm 75, almost 76, and I take nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except for, I do have glaucoma, so I have to put drops in my eyes, but that's it. And I have nothing else. I don't have high blood pressure. And I am a little overweight. Not bad. I weigh 151 and I'm 5'1". But so I'm not overweight a lot. In fact, when I tell my doctor I'm overweight, he says, no, you're not. So, anyway, my sister, who is a retired nurse, said, well, what you need to do is have a little bit of padding in case you fall. So
there you go. I'll take that too.
So other than that, there's no health problems. Yeah. And my husband is had a dramatic, I did notice this with him, and I don't know if I can justify this or what, but when he would eat the bread, he would, most of the time, he would toast it. And I told him, I said, stop toasting it and see if that makes a difference. Because he wasn't seeing the same results I was. Mm-hmm. So he stopped toasting it. And he started seeing the results I did.
Huh, that's interesting.
And I don't know if it's because when you toast it, you dry it out. Or if you kill something in it. I have no idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. But I definitely am going to have to look into that, because I actually just had someone email a question about that, did toasting it. And I'm like, I hope not, because I toast mine, not all of it, some I eat plain, but, in the mornings particularly, I tend to toast it with some butter. But you've got me curious about that. Or maybe it is like it just dries it out. And so then that increases your need for water,
No, he did ask me early on when I was making other things with flour. He said, does this count as a slice of bread?
Yes, it does. I
said, well, I would think so, because it's got the flour in it.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people. When I say bread, that doesn't necessarily mean a slice of bread. It can mean a muffin, a pancake, a bowl of oatmeal, a pot of rice and black-eyed peas or beans. Those are anything. Yes, or cookies. Yes, or brownies made with the freshly milled flour. Those are all, grains and beans are seeds that God has given us. And just about every nutrient we need for life and to support health is in there. And it just saddens me that the food industry has denatured, particularly wheat, so much.
Yeah. Out of bread.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Bread's not filling.
No, not at all. And I love that you said one of the side effects is I didn't gain weight, because that's what people say all the time. Oh, if I ate this bread, I would be overweight. And I'm like, I'd be as big as a house. I'm like, no, problem. The reason America has such an obesity problem is the bread products that are in the store don't fill us up and don't satisfy us, because the fiber and the nutrients have been removed by taking away the bran and germ. So I love.
When I was little, in school, we made paste with white bread.
Yeah.
As a science experiment. Okay, if you can make paste with it, what's it do to your body?
Yes.
Adds on pounds.
Yeah. But unfortunately, people think then they know that you can do that, and they say, oh, bread's nothing but glue. The white bread in the store that has all the fiber and the nutrients taken out, yes. But that saddens me that there's not a differentiation between wheat, real wheat like you and I are using, and the bread that's in the store. The bread that's in the store came from wheat, but that is not wheat,
No, not at all.
Not at all. So.
And I have people around me that I have given bread to, and they will say, that is the best stuff I've ever had. I said, it's not me making it. It's what God made that I put in it.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Well, Edna, I just thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning to share your story with us today. The more I study the nutritional needs of our body and the way our bodies are made, I stand in awe of God, who has given us such a delicious and nutritious food in the form of whole grains and real bread for us to eat and enjoy.
And it's fun making it.
It is. It's so satisfying.
It really is. We drove, my husband asked me this year, he said, where do you want to go on vacation? I said, I don't care. So he contemplated different places, and then he come back and he said, do you have any ideas of where you want to go? And I said, well, I'd like to go to Bread Becker's. And he said, where's that? I said, the video that you watched on bread? He said, yeah. I said, that's where I want to go. He said, okay, that's where we're going. And I said, well, no, we don't have to. We can go wherever you wanted to go. He said, no, we've been going where I wanted to go. It's time we go where you want to go. I said, okay. So we called our son who lives in Florida, and he said, well, Mom, I'll meet you in Atlanta, and we can spend 2 or 3 days there seeing the sights of Atlanta. And he said, so we can make it a vacation. I said, okay. So that's what we did.
Oh, that is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. I'm so glad you got to come, and I'm just so very grateful, like I said, for you taking time to share your story today. And I'm so grateful for God's perfect provision. I
absolutely had to come and tell you thank you for what you did in informing us of what was a possibility. Yeah. And that possibility worked.
That's amazing.
Praise impressed me. God made the stuff, and it's up to us to eat it.
Amen. There you go. It is our choice, isn't it? Well, thank you, Edna, and thank you all for listening today to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I hope you continue to be inspired and find health through real bread. Until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Becker's with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Becker's Incorporated, located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.